If you look 10 to 12 steps ahead, see where everything's going, and you anticipate that the majority of the market is going to go one way, you can still go that way, but you can carve out your own pathway so that in 3-4 years, you're ahead of the game and it's automated.
Wow.
If you were to itemize 5 to 10 of those workflows and automate those, you'd free up 20 hours in your week. You probably miss out on 5 to 6 leads per day, every day.
That can lead to all these downstream automations that get you faster.
You write a prompt, which is, I want to create a voice agent for my physiotherapy business, and it will draft out all the pathways for you to start.
Hi, my name is AI Alex, and I love scaling businesses and learning what's working best for people. On this channel, I share the best strategies to help you succeed in your business by accelerating your go-to market strategy with better marketing, sales, and AI automation. Here's my interview with Mark Kashef, a leader in AI consulting with a master's degree in AI and over 10 plus years working in machine learning and automation. Mark runs an AI consulting company called Prompt Advisors. Mark has worked on over 600 AI projects and has a wealth of information and offers really cool insights throughout the entire video. Stay tuned for an incredible video. We're going to unpack a lot. There's going to be golden nuggets sprinkled throughout the entire pod. And at the end, there's going to be a powerful sequence of questions, some private insights that you can then access to. Welcome to the pod. All right. Hey, how's it going, Mark?
Good. How are you, Alex?
I'm doing fantastic. Brother, thank you for taking the time to jump on this pod. We've been talking about AI and wanting to unpack some of the latest and greatest secrets. You're in the space. I want to introduce the people who we're talking to and, kind of give you the opportunity to share what you do and how you're working in the AI space. So I'll just kind of open up the floor and give you the stage.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for letting me be here. In terms of my background, I've been in the AI space for the past 10 years. I was in it before it was cool. So did a lot more of the machine learning stuff before all this generative AI stuff came out. And around 2 years ago, I started this consultancy called Prompt Advisors, which is an anti-niche. We work with all industries to either automate or integrate AI into workflows or to build things from the ground up. So I've been very close to the action and I have to be on top of things. So we've been offering primarily through our acquisition channel on Fiverr, where we're a top-rated agency, but now we're expanding our YouTube personal brand and other acquisition channels to work with as many clients as we can that are the right fit.
Awesome. Yeah. So you've been AI consulting and going the approach of an anti-niche. Most people would say you definitely want to niche down. You want to have a focus in serving a customer base. So what drew you to this model of the anti-niche?
Yeah, so the way it's structured, it's very different. And I'm usually contrarian by default for a lot of things. So this is no exception. The more use cases I see and the more industries we work with, the better general consultants and implementers we are. Because you might go from a real estate use case to someone in a hedge fund use case, and that real estate use case is it's a perfect fit for one small piece of the workflow in the hedge fund use case. So we see automation use cases they generalize well across industry. So I like to have a big breadth, and I also have a hypothesis that the big management consultants in the world right now are going to be severely threatened by consultancies like mine because they won't focus on small, medium businesses as much, and they're pretty much vanilla to everybody that's enterprise. So I think there's going to be a huge market for small to medium business, full automation. That's one ideology. And on the niche front, I believe in offering niche solutions. So we have a vanilla approach to who we deal with. We have a hero product that we're building that's called Inbound Agent. That's going to be basically an AI voice caller, AI receptionist. So as you meet more and more people and work with more and more clients, you start to understand what hero product can generalize to all that you niche in on as a solution, but you still keep all the doors open for anyone to come in. So that's kind of the strategy there.
Okay, interesting. When you think about the big consulting companies and the advantage that you have in the small business, what's the actionable use cases that you're uncovering that are actually reducing someone's activity time from what they were spending 5 hours on to 1? Do you have like what's some of these hero products that you've been working with, or some of the upcoming ones that are on the way?
Yeah, for sure. So again, we can go from real estate, where it's all of them need to write listing descriptions. Even the big boys right now are literally using ChatGPT to write descriptions. So how do you differentiate your listings versus others? There's all these micro tasks that everyone has to do, from listing to listing images to writing emails to creating a bio. All that stuff you can package into one automation solution where you click one button, you have like one set of inputs, and you get 6 outputs. That's one example. The most really popular one right now is content generation, which is from taking small input, which could be me literally talking to my iPhone saying, hey, I want to talk about this new feature that came out with X. And then that will go into some automation and create an Instagram post, TikTok post, a LinkedIn post, yada, yada, yada. That's number 2.
Can I stop on that? So
yeah.
you're trying to have somebody, as they're going through their day-to-day, use a voice recording and stream some type of perspective, almost like the value of dropping a Twitter thought, and then adding that message into a transcription funnel where it instantly gets, you finish the recording on your iPhone, it goes automatically to the right iCloud drive, that it gets picked up, and then it gets put through this pre-built prompt or sequence of, hey, analyze these components, cross-reference it with this, and then output the data in a structured format. Is that correct?
And then if you want to go hyper lazy, you can try to post it on your behalf, or you can just send you an email saying, hey, here's your Twitter post of the day, here's your LinkedIn post of the day. And then if you have a virtual assistant or you have a scheduling software, we can also hook up to that to take care of it as well. So we find that use case is super useful. Some others literally just want to say, every 3 days, I want to use something like Perplexity, like the search engine, and I want it to look for the latest trending things and then make a bunch of tweets about that autonomously. So it's hands off. Our warning about that is, that creates a lot of microplastics on the internet in terms of AI content. So if you could just add some form of your brand voice in there, a genuine thought that stands out amongst the rest, that's what we're leaning towards advising our clients.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's kind of the old process that Alex Hormozi put out, where you're really just using Twitter or LinkedIn to put your thoughts out, to then what would happen is you slowly wait to see which ones are going to gravitate towards your audience and measure that in terms of likes and comments. And then based on some of those higher producing pieces of small short form writings, you then analyze, okay, what do I want to make a longer piece of content, like a longer written post? Or the next step is take the time to then work into a video editing script and film it, and then collaborate and get it all done and video edited and polished, and then get out there. So what's fascinating is what AI can do is it's taking the already sequence of actions that we're trying to follow to dictate a productive schedule, and just try to put a faster transition loop from that one genuine thought to ultimately like a great post that people can enjoy reading, more than just the brevity of like a solid 1-2 liner that people engage.
Exactly. So I think, and I actually made a video about this we're going to release in a couple weeks. I won't say the title now, but pretty much I think in 3 to 4 years, human-generated art, human-generated content is going to be the new vintage, meaning people will be dying or craving the flaws and the lackluster formatting and the not pure thought out tweet that comes to mind in 3 to 4 years, when every single person is now automating their brand voice. They're automating what they're saying, and everything's perfect and everything's shiny, and people crave that imperfection. That's my prediction.
Wow. All right. Well, we've heard the prediction right here. We'll take a little snapshot and and look back 5 years later. I think it's going to be a wild road where we're going. The proliferation of new content and the expedited process that everybody's getting access to, as well as I think just a across the board distribution of good ideas and what's best performing. I think that's the most fascinating part about YouTube and like doing what you're doing, and here us coming together and really just putting our kind of best thoughts and like where we're making sense out there, and everybody is doing it because it's what's engaging and it's what helpful at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly. So I think if you look 10 to 12 steps ahead and you see where everything's going and you anticipate that the majority of the market is going to go one way, you can still go that way, but you can carve out your own pathway so that in 3-4 years you're ahead of the game and it's automated. But there's like this always 10 to 20% of human in the loop, where pretty much every application we do for all businesses, there's always some form of quality assurance, there's some form of genuine thought, there's some form of human injection in that process that just differentiate it from being pure AI generated content.
Yeah, I agree. I think the pure AI generated, until it can get as great as that human in the loop inspired piece, I think it's easy right now to distinguish and pull it out. What's going to be an interesting chess move is when AI can start taking all of these personal inspirations and figure out new inspiration things on top of it. So still to be determined, I think. Like, does that make sense? Like when it has so many voice recordings from all these people that are transcribing their original thought, and then is able to try to create from a parameter load new thoughts?
Yeah, that's possible. Totally possible. I'd say the hardest thing to emulate that I don't think AI will do well is if you look at someone that's been tweeting a long time or been posting content for years, their style progresses, their thoughts progress. They might have an opinion, a strongly held belief for 2 to 3 years. Then all of a sudden it changes. So there's like an evolution of thought. I think what's tricky with AI is it's almost always going to be, until we're not just using large language models, there's something else we don't know yet. Until we get there, it's very much monkey see, monkey do. So it will generalize based on your past, but it's hard to forecast how you, Alex, will change how you think about things or your value system in 4 or 5 years from now. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I guess that's the slow thinking process where I've heard some AI conversations around. It's really great at the quick response, right? It's the fast thinking that it can do really well, but the permutations of the wild brain that we have, that it's able to think over the span of a week or a month or multiple months, and this like new data that evolves from what we're really guided by, which are our inner spirit, our like inner guide, our genius that we have. It's hard at the moment to replicate that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I can give you a very like specific example. So let's say you were tweeting, making content, and one day you went out on the road, you're in New York City, super busy, a cab almost hits you, you almost die. All of a sudden, your new content style might be more grateful. It might be a bit more graceful in the way you say things, or maybe you're less likely to criticize others because you had that small moment where you were mortal and you realized how not immortal you are, right? You could just go any second. That perspective might change the course of the tonality of your ongoing content. If AI doesn't have that context where you're telling it, hey, I almost died today, I want to be a bit more softer tone moving forward, it won't capture those nuances. Genuine human generated content is not just experience, how much money you made. It's also what happened 2 days ago, what happened this morning, how was your interaction with your parents an hour ago. There's all these things that go into account, right, when it comes to our stream of thought.
Yeah, it almost makes me wonder. It's like the evolution of identity.
Correct.
Right? It's the evolving perspective that we have based on all the experience prior, context, full context window. Where right now, what's the max context window that's out today?
I think it's 1.5 million from Google Pro. Yeah.
And so this massive context window where we've got nonstop eyes and like the raising of a child, our subconscious, which is operating, which we don't have direct access to. Yeah. And that evolving identity, I think that's such an interesting way to say it. It's like all the reference experiences you have as you go and become better, self-development. It's we haven't installed self-development yet into machine learning.
Yeah, and I'd say
from an identity perspective.
Yeah, completely. And for example, Anthropic, very big vendor in the space, they have something that they released called Claude Artifacts, which people are going crazy over. It's basically 3.5 Sonnet's new feature. The system prompt for that feature just got leaked yesterday, and it's almost like 8 pages long. And you can see how they're trying to program its personality. And something like that shows me that you're still coaching the AI how it should interact with the user to kind of pull a fast one on them. These models don't actually have raw intelligence. They are trying to generalize a bunch of learning from a series of things that they've ingested over time. We're waiting for this X factor that's not here yet. I think GPT-5 will come out probably after the US election, and that's on purpose, probably for the whole deep fake text to video thing. And that will, knock everyone's socks off for the 200th time for the newest thing. And I do think we will approach some form of asymptote in terms of how good we can make LLMs before we need that X factor technology to take it to a conversation where AGI is really on the table versus just hype from what I'm seeing right now.
Interesting. So at some point we almost have to give, how do we install subconsciousness into an AI model that's running on just linear thinking?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever watched Ex Machina back in the day. I think 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
They basically had to make this like fluid brain-like structure that processes information just like us. There's a missing piece. No matter what that thing's going to be, there's something missing now from going from where we're at, which is amazing and generating and kind of reasoning based on looking at other stuff it's seen in the past, to something that has genuine self-awareness and honestly doesn't need much prompting. I think in the future, you won't need to code and you won't need to prompt engineer as much, because you'll have a back and forth conversation that's much richer because it knows probably to tell you, hey, Alex, you're not being specific enough. If you want me to really help you, this is what I need from you, without you having to program it to do that.
So what do you think is ways that we can give the AI more context about us? Like in that future model, is that like us wearing glasses all the time, or the neural link components? Do you have any predictions there?
Yeah, again, I'm not a genuine expert in terms of where we're going, but if I had to guess, I think the meaning of context will go beyond just paragraphs of you saying what's happening. I think that whatever technology we're wearing or interacting with 4 or 5 years from now, it will take in metadata that adds to the context. So when you're looking at something, let's use your eyeglass analogy, right? You're looking at something, it's taking the metadata of what you're looking at while you're asking the question, right? So you have like real-time streaming context as well as your spoken context or written context. So there will be other layers of what context means.
So can we go next to what are some things that small business owners can benefit from integrating with AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say step one, a lot of business owners like myself, sometimes you need advice, meaning you just need to talk to an advisor or a mentor, but you might not be at the point yet where you're worthy to be paying for someone's time for $400 or $500 an hour to tell you what's wrong with your business, or what are you missing, or what should you integrate in your workflow. I'd say like step one is people are finding success with just creating personal advisors that are trained on different people's style. So you used Hormozi as an example. What if you hooked up, 40 of the transcripts of Hormozi's latest videos on how to run a business, and you threw that on into a custom GPT? A lot of small business owners love the idea of having a coach that they can kind of vent to. Hey, like, I need to hire. What's some things I should look for? Or what's the best system I should use for XYZ? I'd say that's like the basis level. Getting help that otherwise you'd have to scout for or Google search for hours and days. You can get a lot of advice synthesized. That's like the lowest level. The next level is, again, your example from before. What are 4 or 5 things that are sucking 10 hours a week that could probably be offloaded off of me? Whether it's putting invoices in this folder so I can do my taxes and let's say creating payment links or subscription links. There's so many low-level tasks that a business owner does, and I'm saying this from experience, that if you were to itemize 5 to 10 of those workflows and automate those, you'd free up 20 hours in your week. So it's not even doing very AI specific or generative tasks. It's what can you do they already do on a daily basis. And all you have to do is kind of like map out what that process looks like and what the conditions and logic are that you can use to free up and buy back your time. Because maybe you'll pay $700, $1,000, $2,000 for a full scale automation for one thing, but that's all translated back into time. So the ROI is like instant as soon as you can automate these things.
Yeah, I love that. How is an example? Do you have a recent client that you can come discuss? Like what's another use case that you came across that's been really effective for a small business owner?
Yeah. So one business owner shared a pain point that I had, which inspired us building a very basic automation, which is literally they would sell a client and then it would take them a day or two to actually go into Stripe, create the invoice link or create the subscription, and then set it all up and then send them the payment link and a proposal. Very basic use case. But still, it's like one of the 200 things you have to do in your day. And I don't know, working with clients, when they say yes, that's the time to ask for the credit card. You don't want that yes to turn into a maybe just by you not giving that to them in 2 days. So we built this cool automation in Slack where they just write in natural language what the invoice is about and if it should be a subscription. And then they just send the message. And under 5 seconds, you have that payment link done or that invoice done. You get that link, you just give it to the client. That one thing alleviated so many concerns for this client, and we started using it in the business as well. So that's one small micro example of a task where you go from natural language to integrating with the Stripe API and getting payment links in under 5 seconds.
That's awesome. So again, it's that personal input in a small, compact way.
Yes.
That can lead to all these downstream automations that get you faster the output you're trying to deliver.
Exactly. And pretty much anyone we work with, let's say, again, we're not looking at the pure AI route, we're looking at the automation route. As soon as you automate 2 things, every single client realizes, oh my gosh, I could probably automate this, I could automate that. So then as soon as you see 1 or 2 things are possible, you realize how much of your day-to-day can be automated, which is that aha moment that we see a lot of people experiencing right now.
Very cool. What do you think about digital twins, the avatars that we're exploring in some of these AI discussions?
Like her, like the avatar her, or
that, or it's a video avatar of yourself. Do you see any use cases of that getting implemented successfully, like actually driving an ROI?
Successfully, TBD, because this is brand new. We just worked with a client a month ago. Basically, they wanted to use HeyGen to create a version of themselves so that they could introduce themselves to their client as soon as they get onboarded. So let's say your workflow is you sign a contract and then the automation creates a Slack channel, invites you to the Slack channel based on the email that's on the contract, and then it sends you an onboarding email. And then a day later, it sends you a, hey, welcome to working with firm X. My name is John. And then you get a full intro video of them introducing themselves, walking through what the onboarding steps are going to be and what to expect over the next week. So it's low touch enough that we don't know yet if it's going to make a pivotal difference or whether people will like it or not. But that's how I'm noticing some people are experimenting with it if it's not trying to automate social media posting, which I think kind of sucks at the moment. That's use case 1. Use case 2 is onboarding material. So one tool we like to use with our clients is called synesthesia.io. You can basically make avatars of yourself, or you can just take one of their off-the-shelf avatars to take written content and turn it into a course. So if you have just a script, it will have someone lip syncing the words to your script and be expressive as possible. So you can now turn written PDFs, let's say you're a smaller business, of what to do, where to download what, some key values, whatever. You throw into the software and it makes courses out of it just off of that transcript. So that's another powerful use case that is having ROI from what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of established companies in the learning education space that end up doing these videos on lessons and like ongoing demonstrations that teach people, right, in their course catalogs. Not only the individual course creators and content creators, but like real big companies that go and market this to corporations, right, medium, large enterprise type companies for ongoing training. So this is a way that by marketing to some of those businesses, have you found any ends there where they're doing all these videos, and rather than paying actors, the fidelity is now almost there that the transcripts can get translated from text to video.
That specific niche is super picky. So like they want to be like unrecognizable from an AI. So their tolerance is much lower. These other clients, like when you want to see what is the best use case for the client you're working with or these small businesses, is where you at right now. If you're at PDF, then 80% effective AI is a huge leap. If you already have the budget for actors and you already have a standard for what your course material looks like, you probably don't want to downgrade just to save time. You want to keep it there at that same level, but using AI, right? So those are the ones that have to wait probably 4 or 5 months longer until we get really close on that text to video side. So I would say all these tools, automations, it really depends on where you're at and how you can use a workflow, a tool, LLM, etc., to go from where you're at to at least double that throughput and have a better quality of life relative to where you're already at.
So what's something else that surprised you recently talking to small businesses and hearing about the different companies that are looking to do AI?
How much they don't know and how limited their horizons are in terms of what's already out there. So a lot of times we'll speak to clients that say, do you think we could do something like this? And it was possible probably like a year ago. Or there's probably like been 4 or 5 AI tools that have been released. And it's not to their detriment. Like my job and my company's job is to stay on top of everything so that we know what's the best weapon for the right task. The average person literally just heard about custom GPTs 4 or 5 months ago. And we actually have the data to prove that. So on Fiverr, once you reach a certain level, you can start to look at different keywords that are ranking and the highest search volumes. Custom GPTs, as a small example, came out in November of last year. They didn't actually start ranking for search until mid-April of this year. So there's a bit of a lag effect where something gets released, and if it's general enough and like almost impossible to not see, it will take 4 to 5 months for the average person who doesn't keep up with the AI stuff as closely to actually know it exists. So it's like the main answer to your question is how much people don't know that's already there right now that you can use off the shelf to actually do what you need to do. Like reach your dream outcome. A lot of dream outcomes are doable, but most people don't know that it's doable.
Yeah. As I've noticed, like getting into the AI space, there's a mountain of information.
Yes.
As well as it's kind of like a little bit of a mirage. It's a mountain in the desert that's kind of shifting. And, you really need to be up to date on it and staying like viscerally tuned in and to just know where things are at, which is why I think it's so important that every business owner that's trying to get more leads, trying to run better sales calls, thinking about optimizing their operations, automating work, getting more out of the time that they have and that their team is putting in, to have someone like you, like an AI consulting shop that knows from a very large point of view how many different businesses are implementing it and like what are the new techniques, because this is a full-time role to be an AI leader and be able to implement these solutions. Like in any business, if you don't have somebody, like you got to have someone.
Exactly. So like, one of our more popular offers is a more of a retainer offer where myself or my colleagues, one time a week or a couple times a month, we go in, we kind of walk through and talk through the business, where they're at, what they're looking at, maybe automating, or what pain points are they having. And we try to be the voice of the AI, which is, here's what we could do for this specific pain point. Option 1, 2, 3, 4. We could probably go from what you're doing right now to maybe 60% automated or 80% automated. So it's helpful for us because we get paid to be on top of everything. So that all you have to do is have us on the side. And then I always make this joke, when you have a late night anxiety attack about, can I use AI for this? Late in the shower, you could just send us a WhatsApp or a Slack, and then we can answer that. At least we do our best to be able to answer that as best as we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's happening more and more in everybody's life. It's like, oh, damn, is there an AI for that?
Yes.
Wonder how many times that search phrase is happening. Is there an AI for X?
There's literally a website that now charges, literally, they charge like $4 or $5 grand, I think, just to feature you. It's called Is There an AI for That.com. There's an AI for that.com. Or
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We'll put a little link somewhere in this video that someone go find that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What AI tools are you finding recently in the voice AI space? Let's talk about appointment setting, having a support call or a verification call. Can you go through some use cases there and what tools you're using?
Yeah, you'll see my face light up because we've been on this for a while and we're super excited. We're about to launch like a micro SaaS to do like done for you for most businesses. So in the voice calling space, there's three main behemoths, and then there's a couple extra providers. So you have Synflow, you have Vappy, and you have Bland AI. And then you have a couple other companies like Thoughtly, Simple Talk, and a few others. All of them are trying to solve the same problem pretty much, which is how can you remove the mundane calls, appointment reminders, appointment setting from day-to-day receptionists, virtual assistants, so that you have someone 24/7, 365 on the phone, ready to talk to someone in your brand voice with information of your business and with the capacity to invoke tools like actually create a booking in your calendar and take care of that, or send text messages or reference knowledge. So they're all trying to fix that and solve that problem. Synflow, a lot of people use it for cold calling, and it's a very pretty interface. So you can build your own caller in probably 15 to 30 minutes. But it's not as malleable as, let's say, Bland and Vappy. Vappy is more on the security front, where if you have very important patient data or you're dealing with a pharmaceutical use case or medical, you typically want to use Vappy, especially if you have tons of custom development you want to do, where you don't want to use one LLM, you want to use this other one or some open source one. It gives you a lot of flexibility. The one we primarily work with and we're affiliated with is Bland AI, which has something called conversational pathways, where you don't just program an appointment setter, you program someone on the other end of the line that can deal with very nuanced conversations. So whereas with Vappy, you have one big prompt that says, hey, this is how you interact with everything, and this is what you do. With Bland, you can say, if Alex asks this, but in this way, this is how you should handle it. So you can start to really build a brain for how that caller should function. So in terms
it's
of
like a large decision tree.
Yes,
so it's kind of like the workflows that we're familiar with in like HubSpot or Go High Level. It's like this large mapping of the new lead comes in at the top, and then you have all these kind of like little subsections, and it routes, and each of these become little parts of a brain that it has a wider context window that it can work with. Is that how things are getting set up in Bland?
Yeah, so that's Bland's use case, which is the fact that you can have those multi-brains inside the pathway where it's not fixed, meaning depending on what the user says, it'll bounce to the pathway it thinks is the best for that specific query or question. Now, that's kind of how it works in terms of use cases. The most popular ones, like you said, are appointment setting. So someone actually calls your business, and let's say you're a trades business, which is very popular with our service, and you're actually doing the thing, you're fixing someone's stuff, you can't answer your phone, you probably miss out on 5 to 6 leads per day, every day. So this will make sure you never you lose those leads. You can also qualify them on the phone. So say, hey, do you meet XYZ requirements? You can collect that information and then actually set that appointment. You can do appointment reminders. So let's say you're a medical clinic, and I don't know if if you have experience with like dentists where they call you and say, hey, are you still coming for your cleaning tomorrow at 2:30 p.m., Alex? And you're like, oh, no, actually, I can't make it. Can I reschedule? Very low level task that takes 3 to 4 hours of receptionist days. We can take that off your plate. That's a really popular use case because it's very predictable. It's static. There's only a few ways this conversation is going to go. So it's very predictable. And the last one, really cool use case, is working with insurance companies where, let's say you have a provider and you need to ask a question about your policy. We can train an AI on multiple policies that a company offers so that you can just call and say, hey, I'm about to get a rental car. Am I fully covered for XYZ damage? And it can just talk to you through your policy instead of you reading through your policy, which no one's going to do. The best case, you're going to throw it into ChatGPT and ask it. But imagine you could just call and just double check. That's a really good use case and a solid user experience.
Dude, that's awesome. thinking about insurance companies and the massive context of all these policies, I would be somewhat curious, like to what degree the hallucinations happen. But honestly, unless you're paying somebody like a significant amount to stay on top of all this data, like I think normal people are going to hallucinate and not get things right. So you're saying like an insurance company for inbound leads has all these policies and they can answer questions. Okay, what plan were you on? Has there been any changes? What's the average return or monthly premium or benefits in this certain situation? Am I covered in XYZ?
Exactly.
And you're getting that set, so that's doable. Which programs is that being accomplished in?
We're using Bland for that one.
Okay. Not Synthflow or Vappy?
Again, I don't discriminate, but in terms of the one we love working with the most for this use case, it's this because they just added a new feature, which now, just like you can on a normal phone, you can add, press 1 if you want this, or press 2 if you want this. So imagine, for 1, you have a set of pathways and own context. For 2, you have a set of pathway and a knowledge base. So you can start to build multiple brains within the same calling agent. So it's like you have multiple departments, but we're training each department based on what that department should ask, that department's information, etc.
So like a good mental model for AI is almost like everything is just kind of a set of written instructions, and to build a brain, we just need lots of packets of information. And
Correct.
Bland is making it easier to program these packets versus Vappy or Synthflow. Synthflow has context windows that you can influence.
Yes. Again, Synthflow is probably the easiest to use for anyone off the street to use because you don't need to code, you don't need to do anything crazy. The worst you're going to do is add an API key, which anyone could do. Vappy, I like to always make a joke. It's a developer's wet dream. You can do anything with it. You can hook it up to whatever. Like if you want to tinker and push it and experiment with different things, Vappy's awesome for that. Bland is our sweet spot, like our Goldilocks zone, where it's malleable enough where you can configure some things, but it also has a lot of things off the shelf that are pretty powerful.
Nice, awesome. How is it working with outbound calling?
So we did outbound for a while until some people started misusing it for bad things or not moral things. It's really good at calling, and then you can do little integrations where it can log the call, the transcript, the recording, record a couple things in terms of information it captured. So it works well. I would say in terms of how human-like it sounds, probably 6.5 out of 10, and I expect that to get to 8 out of 10 by the end of the year.
So 8 out of 10 at the end of the year. Is it able to interface with other website and applications?
That all
in conjunction.
Yeah, so that all would happen behind the scenes. So right now, the way we do it is we'll have Bland do its thing, but then we'll have a webhook to make.com so we can accomplish a lot of other automations during call and post call, which could include what you just mentioned, where it goes on that website before it calls, scrapes it, feeds it in as information so that when it gets on the call, it has context about that client. So that's all doable. I would say to be nimble, you want to hook it up with other automation tools to help you out.
How does it work in, let's say, the context of an insurance company where you've got an agent that's making outbound calls to leads, and then real time over the phone, the goal is to win the rapport, establish the trust, and then collect information about the prospect, the potential client, and then simultaneously go to one portal API or multiple websites to actually prompt the website an application real time with the client's information that then you're posting to see if they're approved.
Yeah, collecting is high, trust is low, because all you have to do is accidentally say something. So I'll give you an example. You're on the phone, Alex, and then I'm talking to you, and then your friend comes by and say, no, give me 1 second. Okay, so that give me 1 second will be misinterpreted as you're telling the AI to wait 1 second, right? So at that point, it's just waiting. And you have to say, hello? And it says, hi. It kind of resets in a bit. So as soon as you have a micro interaction that's super human-like, which comes up all the time. So if you were to whisper to your friend, hey, I'm on the phone right now, the AI doesn't know you're whispering yet. It doesn't understand that level of nuance. So that's where that trust goes very low in that specific use case. What we do to improve the trust as a recommendation is we tell clients, don't try to pull a fast one. Even if we can get the voice really good, introduce the AI as an AI assistant. Hey, I'm the AI receptionist for XYZ business. I'm looking to see if you'd qualify for one of our great insurance plans. Would you be interested in talking? And then at least when you're having that back and forth conversation, you understand why there's some latency, especially if it goes and searches that website. Because that search is going to add 7 seconds maybe to go search, understand, put it into words, and give it back to you as an answer. Yeah.
So it sounds like more the better use case is kind of like a preliminary call that's not really and let's say a sales development rep's responsibility to book an appointment. That's one option. Or it seems like it's better suited almost for like inbound calls or following up with existing customers with like more information rather than doing like outbound sales and trying to get a close right over the phone.
I think end of the year that will be accomplishable, if not earlier. But for right now, you're spot on. So appointment confirming, appointment setting, very procedural stuff where the conversation is so predictable that the likelihood for having a poor interaction is low, meaning you are getting ROI on your time and your colleagues' time and your workers' time. This time next year, I think you will have a sales development representative that can close over the phone using the best negotiation tactics trained by Chris Voss or whoever you think is really good in the space to actually close someone.
Oh man, yeah, Chris Voss is good. I read that twice. That sharpened my my blade when I was cold calling.
Exactly.
A lot is there. Be really impressive, man. I've listened to Vappy. I think that's some of the like high quality feedback of like a like real time like quality conversation. I felt good about SynthFlow. I haven't tried Bland, but now that I hear from you and I've seen some other videos, Bland's coming up on the stage. Be excited to see what happens.
Yeah, they released a crazy feature we just put on our channel, which is literally you write a prompt, which is, I want to create a voice agent for my physiotherapy business, and it will draft out all the pathways for you to start. So 80% of it's done, and all you have to do is go and fine tune it and test it out. That's a game changer.
That's wild. What about the SDR?
Yeah.
How is that going to get impacted?
Not now. It will happen later. We're not, like for now, you're good. You got time to sharpen the blade and make sure you're exceptional SDR, where you can handle the qualified lead that the AI calling agent will set for you next year. I think end of the day, for the majority of interactions, again, humans will always be needed, but a different caliber of human. So if you were just like a mediocre BR, or what's it called, a BDR, business development representative, which is like below SDR, I think that's more in jeopardy this time next year. At SDR, account executives, etc., there's always that human element where you need someone on the phone to kind of make sure, like, yes, I'm working with a real company, they can deliver, etc., etc. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, that trust.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I want to jump to kind of like a little shotgun firing questions. I'm going to ask a couple, okay, and we're coming up here at the end. But I'd love for you to just, whatever comes to mind, I'll shoot and fire these off. Sounds good?
Go for it.
What's a failed AI project you were on, and what did you learn?
I tried to automate a law firm's business, which included basically transcribing pictures that they took of their notes on a OneNote and getting that to actually go and create a bunch of tasks for that lawyer in his system that is from 1970. And I completely underestimated that process. That's probably one of the few refunds I ever gave, full refunds, because I completely underestimated that 70% of that was not automatable with the technology we have today. A lot of it needed like robotic process automation where you have someone physically clicking on programs on someone's screen, which was way out of our wheelhouse and not in our niche. So we learned that early on. That's an early scar we got.
What's changed from 1 year ago to where we are now?
You don't need to worry about prompt engineering as much anymore. You can ask the AI to prompt itself, and you can use that. And pretty much the 80-20 equation, 80% of what you had to do last year has been accomplished, meaning you don't have to do that as much, or not to that extent.
What's the one thing you want people to take away that they learn from this call?
You don't need to learn how to code. You don't even need to know how to read code. You can have AI automate tons of processes just by asking it, and asking it to ask you leading questions to help understand what you can or can't automate in your business. Now, I would say for the average small, medium business, on average, 60% of what you do day to day can be automated.
What's the most impactful lesson you've learned this past year?
Whew, that's a deep question. Overall, or just the business? In the business, I'd say context matters, not just for prompts, but for clients and understanding the business. If you just try to automate stuff in a business without understanding how it works, the rhythm, the heartbeat, what their goals are, and getting deep into understanding what their dream outcome truly is, not just automate X, that changes a good relationship to a great relationship where the client is just happy and they keep coming back and you become that trusted source. So I'd say being fully embedded in the problem and not just looking at it as, okay, you're here and you want to get here, let me just fix that and then we're done. That end-to-end relationship adds a lot of fruit, and you can deliver way better solutions if you understand all the micro nuances of someone's business.
Yeah, that's great. What book do you recommend the most to read?
Smart Until It's Dumb by Emmanuel Maggiore.
Awesome. How many hours of sleep do you get every night?
4.
What software tool can you not live without?
ChatGPT.
What's your secret to making your clients the most success?
Giving a client interaction that I wish I would have with every business that I interact with on a day-to-day basis, which is being understanding, being authentic, meaning if I don't know how to do something or we don't have the capacity for something, but we think we can do it, we're super honest about it. We don't try to play poser, and we're not afraid to give the real price for something. Meaning if I give you a price, it's the genuine price. It's not the markup price because you're worth $1.5 million or because you are X company. We just try to be authentic, transparent, and if we make a mistake, we don't try to make excuses for it. We just say, yeah, we're delayed and that's our fault, or we messed this up, we didn't do the quality assurance we needed to do and that's our fault. So hyper accountability has been super helpful for us.
That's incredible. Awesome. So that's the round of the shotgun questions.
Whew. Okay, good. I hope I passed.
You did phenomenal.
Awesome.
So everyone, this is Mark Kashef. How can people find you if they want to get in touch?
Yeah, so if you want to touch base with our agency, it's promptadvisors.com. It's advisors with an E, not an O. If you want to check out my YouTube channel, it's Mark_Kashef. We drop a lot of knowledge there that I would otherwise charge a couple $1,000s for every week. So you can find us there. And if you're interested in that voice solution, we're going to be releasing inboundagent.ai probably by the time this goes out in the next week or so. So if you're interested for a done-for-you AI agent in your business, we're ready to help.
Outstanding. Fantastic. Mark, thank you so much for jumping on the pod. This has been great.
It's a privilege and an honor. So thank you so much, Alex. And hopefully we'll talk soon, maybe in 3-4 months.
Sounds good. Love to do another update with how things are progressing.
Right on. Cheers.
All right, man. See ya. Bye-bye. Looking forward to your feedback. Drop a comment below. Make sure to subscribe and like this video. It really makes a big difference in helping sustain the growth of this channel.